I have a green screen behind me. Why? I don't even have lighting for it. I'm not using it right now. It's been 6 months since we've uploaded anything. Why, Jason, do you have a green screen? Well, I have ideas in the future. Very soon, actually. Just need to execute them at this point after I get my lighting in. But anyway, for now, welcome back to the Don't Forget Your Roots podcast. Got another episode for you that we just recorded. And I want to kind of talk about why we took a break. I want to keep it as short as I possibly can. So yeah, long story short, not going to call it burnout because it wasn't really burnout. We weren't doing it enough to get burnt out on it. It kind of just felt like, what is the point? For me, anyway. Dad and I talk all the time. We love talking. We love thinking. When we have nothing to talk about, we think about thinking. Pretty much sums it up. So we were like, why are we sharing these ideas when we don't really have a product? We don't really have a solution. We don't have, we're just presenting problems to the world in the form of a podcast. And what do you do with that? We have talked about it over the last month or so. What role does the podcast serve in our ultimate goal? And that, I think, was the issue. We didn't really have an ultimate goal. We had one, but it wasn't focused. We didn't really understand what it was, how the restaurants all fit into it, how the digital side of it fit into it, how Facebook, what was the big picture? We have it now. We have a good idea of it and how everything fits together and the new things that we want to do in the online space, which is why I have this. I'm very excited for what's coming. And the podcast will be, I don't know if it'll be weekly, honestly, but it'll keep happening. That's the important part. And I'll be more on top of content creation other than this and marketing and all that stuff. Richmond is coming very soon. We will talk about it a little bit in this. But this episode is more so us refocusing, kind of retelling our story from start to finish and putting it in the context that we want it to be put in going forward. Because I think that we strayed away from what we were trying to do for a little bit. Kind of got lost, lost in opportunities and losing out on certain things and running businesses. It's fun. It's fun and it can be a lot, but we're refocused now more than ever. And I can't wait to share with you guys what we have coming, both at Richmond with the food and hopefully a few weeks. That's how close we are, just nailing down finishing touches. But also with more content on the internet. Hopefully I can make things fun and entertaining and educational and helpful. Our ultimate goal here is to help people find ways to eat real food. That's it. Everything we do will be seen through that lens now. That's the ultimate goal. So here's an episode for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. One other thing. Speaking of content creation and that I am just an amateur at it completely. File didn't completely save. Got corrupted or something. It's gone. The last 7 minutes of this episode are gone. Luckily for you, it's just Dad and I rambling for 7 minutes instead of actually doing an outro. So it will cut off abruptly. Sorry. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Keep on the lookout for new stuff. All right, we're using different software, so this is take 2 of the intro to this podcast.
It is not sponsored by Blood
It's not
Oath
sponsored by Blood Oath.
Pack 10, which is a lovely pour.
So yeah, you guys missed us taking it out of the box, which is very nice, by the way. The box is really cool.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, and this is a Lux Road Distillery bottle. They don't make very many of them, and so people, they go fast. But it's finished in Cabernet and then Merlot. So double finished. Very good pour.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's incredible. That's good stuff.
Again, it doesn't have anything to do with sponsoring or anything like that, but it does facilitate us being able to talk about ourselves, which is something we're usually not very want to do.
That's true. Yeah. Little bit
social
of
lubricant.
Social lubricant. Yep.
But so today we wanted to talk about kind of our history of with food and farming and all of that in the context of roots.
Yeah. Our view on the world, and most importantly, our view on food, which we have talked about a lot.
And will a lot more.
But, we've taken a little break from the podcast and stuff. And now more than ever in our vision for what we want to be in the future, I think it's more important now than it ever has been to talk about this stuff.
Yes.
And where the world we think is going. This topic is probably more important than it's ever been right now. So we really are trying to hit this topic hard in pretty much everything we do. And that being said, like we will go into, I guess we can just go into it now. We were talking about, before we had to cut, we were talking about, we didn't make it very far, by the way. It was like 10 minutes. So we don't have to backtrack a whole lot in our train of thought. But we were talking about the Winchester location that we had and how we kind of not necessarily strayed away from our original beliefs in what we were doing, our mission with food, but we didn't do a great job of being deliberate about it in pushing our mission.
Yes.
The things that we did well there, we did well, but being the party is not really what we set out to do when we started Tree Hill Farms over 10 years ago, and getting close to 10 years, 2014.
Yeah, it's over 10. So
So that wasn't really our mission. It wasn't to, give somebody a fun night after a hard day's work or have a place to hang out with your family. We believe strongly in the ability to do that.
Sure, we celebrate the roots of food and the roots of community around food.
Yeah,
so,
it's very important to us. But notice that it's the roots of community around food. Food is the crux of all of it. And we were serving food. That's true.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, we were still in line with what we believed in, but in the same way that you could say that any restaurant would be in line with those beliefs.
Exactly. Winchester did not set us apart for what we were bringing to the table. And so therefore, I think it could be forgiven when customers and would-be customers and just sideline observers now wonder what in the world is going on with us, and why sometimes do you look schizophrenic, and why sometimes do you not just do the easy thing? And I think that's the part that, our original customer base from Tree Hill Farms that transitioned over to Roots. So we had, our meats, our red velvet pork, our heritage breed pork, and we had our produce, and we had all that through our online store, through triofarms.com and all that. So we had customers that were Tree Hill Farms customers that then transitioned over to Roots customers. So to them, it was just an extension of that, and they credited us with what they already knew we stood for.
Right.
But then all the new customers that we brought in, they were not brought into us. Mm-hmm. They were brought into what you're saying, basically just a party.
Yeah.
And
fun, nice people, which is great.
Yeah.
I love being that.
Sure.
But that wasn't there was a very clear mission when we started.
Yes, and we strayed from it for a while because I think we just got overwhelmed with the size and complexity of running a 7,000 square foot restaurant or whatever, with full service bar and all that, and had no experience whatsoever in restaurant business.
No.
Like just totally stupid. of us.
I mean, yeah.
But we gained so much experience that I
Absolutely.
think is definitely helping everything we're doing moving forward, and has really channeled us and reinvigorated us in the aftermath. And so I think that's part of the purpose of what we're talking about now, and in our visions for the future.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of this stuff, if you've been following what we do, or if you've watched any other podcast episodes, it'll be stuff that you've already heard before. Hopefully
Yes.
not all of it, but it'll be subject matter that you'd be familiar with. But again, I think it's very important now more than ever to make sure that we stay on track with our original mission.
Because it's gotten more important, not less.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gotten more important for
Like,
sure.
we're looking at things happening in the popular culture right now that 10 years ago when we started were not popular, and we were on that bandwagon back then.
Yeah.
And so now, a decade later, things are catching up with where there were definitely early adopters similar to us that were on that path. And now it's just picking up speed
Rapidly.
And so we
Yeah.
feel like it's just an idea whose time's come. And with us opening the bistro in Richmond, this episode just feels like our kind of reintroduction to our vision, why we do what we do, who we are, and how any future concepts will fit into that vision.
Yes.
And so we think this is an important episode, probably the most important one we've done so far. I mean,
I think so, probably.
and so I think,
Self-important.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
important. It's important to us.
Important for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. To express what we're about, And I think that, a lot of people would wonder, what's wrong with these guys? Why do they have such a hard time just giving the people what they want, or, hitting a certain market or whatever? And it's because that was never our goal. Our goal
Right.
is real food made simple. That's our umbrella vision. That's our overarching vision for the future, is real food made simple. And so, and the way that we make that vision come true for us, there's lots of people that have a similar vision for, real food. Not many that I know express it quite like we do, but we achieve that by celebrating the roots of food and the roots of community around food. That, in our mind, that's what will bring about real food made simple. Celebrating where food comes from, how eating an ancestral diet, not divorced from the context of thousands of human years of civilization and culture, how does that work? And so, once you go in that, and then the communities that gathered around those eating experiences and their whole lives were devoted to food, and how it was gathered and how it was prepared and how it was enjoyed together and all of those things. In my mind, you're not going to defeat Doritos and Twinkies and seed oils without having some kind of a revelation about the value and the goodness of real food. At some point, they have to be compared side by side.
Yeah.
And one has to be declared food and the other has to be declared pseudo food. And so, but pseudo food tastes really, really good. And so
Right.
you've got to have real food that tastes really, really good. And so that's what we've tried to do. So we have to walk that line, and we have for years, of real food made simple. And there's people that understand that and value it, and there's people that make fun of it, and they don't even know what the heck we're talking about. And so they're like, well, real food, isn't everything real food? Well, no, it's not. It's not. And if you look around the world, it's obvious. And so, yeah, we are, while others are just going along and trying to survive, we have a vision and values that require us to operate in a certain way. And so, yeah, I have to be very meticulous in what we source and how we do it and where we compromise, and when we compromise, how transparent we are about that, and all of those things that most hospitality businesses don't take into consideration. You're just
No.
like, what's the cheapest I can buy this thing for? What's the most I can get somebody to pay for it? And let's just hustle and grind every single day to make a living, and future be damned.
Yep.
Like, and that's most people's idea of entrepreneurship or opening a restaurant or whatever. The restaurants have always been secondary to us, subservient of a larger mission, vision,
Absolutely.
and a purpose. And basically it comes down to just loving your neighbor, like serving them and our future. And so in our minds, it's tricky sometimes to make that work, especially when people don't know. They don't know the reason why does your food cost a little more, because it's food. And it's different, and the way it's raised is different, and all those kind of things. And so it does cost a little more, and it's made from scratch. And so there's just a lot going on behind the scenes that we've not been that clear about to people.
Yeah,
And
which
it's
I
left
mean,
them room to fill in the gaps.
sure.
Like, what in the world are these guys doing wrong? Don't they know how to run a business or any of that? And it's like,
Well, first of all, no.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're new at all of it.
I'm
still.
a hick farmer.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, let's get into where it started, because
In the beginning.
that's the crux of everything that we've done. Again, excluding a little bit of the Winchester experience, because that was a little bit, like you said, we were probably a little bit caught off guard with what we were dealing with. And while we didn't sacrifice our ideals, they were definitely not at the forefront of my mind.
No, they were
I know they weren't yours either. I mean, our entire goal there was to give a customer the best experience they could have at a restaurant.
True.
Which is great, but we've talked about this before too. I think maybe I may have said it on a podcast episode. I don't remember. But like, restaurants aren't even a sustainable form of eating.
No, they are not. There is nothing sustainable about a restaurant.
Inherently, they're bad.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
And it sounds hilarious to say that because we're about to open a restaurant in Richmond.
Yeah, and hopes of continuing to open various
Yeah,
concepts. So,
open more of them.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
So-
But like, still, I believe the restaurants are inherently unsustainable and probably a bad way to eat food.
Yeah.
as a society. Not
Yeah.
saying that I go to restaurants all the time.
Sure.
Not saying that you're bad for eating at a restaurant.
No.
But as a framework to feed 300 million people,
Yes.
not a great idea.
Yeah, because by its very nature, it is disconnected from the land. Mm-hmm. It is disconnected from place. You are, by its very nature, and we've gone through this with menu design in every concept, whittling down the menu to a few items. Well, a few items for a lot of people is not the way nature works.
Exactly.
And so, that's part of the whole issue, but that's the culture we live in, and that's where we are. And so you can't just immediately opt out of that 100%. You got to kind of go in phases and transitions and do the best you can with what you have, what you've been given.
For sure.
And so, I mean, I can't see restaurants going away anytime in the near future.
Yeah,
or
if we
even
thought
the
that
far
was true,
future.
then we wouldn't be
be
doing
doing
it.
it. It'd be a really dumb idea.
Yeah.
So we just think that you should hijack restaurants for good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's in my mind kind of what the goal would be then, But yeah, I think, back with Trejo Farms, and we transitioned out of, factory farming, and, that's why I say we're recovering factory farmers. We had the Tyson contract and the industrial hogs and the concentrated feeding operation and the fact, all that. And we just didn't like it. We didn't like the way the animals were being treated, and didn't like the way we were being forced to treat the animals. We were, you've called Tyson surfs.
Oh,
surf,
yeah.
SERF. Like,
Yeah, a surf.
Yeah, we're like surf peasant farmers for Lord Tyson.
Yeah.
They come in to an area, and through the size of their corporation, and their financial pull, they can get farmers to leverage their land, all of their assets, to build these big barns that'll hold, 2,500 pigs in one little barn. Imagine a city. A pig is basically a person, like that.
Yeah,
everything about them, even
anatomically,
their organs and everything, and their size.
Yeah, anatomically, a pig is the closest thing to a human in the animal kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so I think that it's interesting that, you put 2,500 people in a little barn of which you put 2,500 hogs, and you wonder, why are they always sick? Why can't they breathe?
Not even
why
just
I
want to be clear here when you say barn. Because I don't think the average maybe the average person around where we live would know what that looks like on the inside. Mm-hmm. But it's not like
it's not a barn. Not in a traditional sense, like Farmer John had a barn.
Yeah, no. It is a factory. Mm-hmm. It's got concrete floors with slots in the floor so that when they go to the bathroom, it drops into a pit, and they are constantly breathing in
the gases that rise from that pit.
Yeah, always.
Right above them.
I mean,
they're right above it.
It's ventilated. It's got big fans in the back. That's the best you can do. Like,
if the fans go down for any length of time, all the pigs in the barn will die.
Yeah, they will die.
We're talking hours.
Yeah, that was when we had those, that was a huge deal. I mean, fans not working. Your power going out.
Sure, you had to have generators, and if you took out insurance in case there was that very thing happen and you lost a whole barn full of pigs, who are you responsible to pay for those? Tyson, because they own the pigs. So they use the farmers' assets to leverage it in order to get funding to build the factory barn. Then they put their pigs in there and then tell you how much they are going to pay you to take care of their pigs in your barn. And they get all of the value from the leveraged assets of all the farmers across the country that they've roped into that idea. Mm-hmm. And you wonder why you come up with the idea of a serf under Lord Tyson.
Yeah,
like
it's not that far off. It's pretty accurate term.
And as soon as your barns get close to being paid off, they start coming up with all kinds of ways. And this has been documented in books and stuff. This is not accidental. This is deliberate. They come up with all kinds of ways that you have to reinvest into those barns, because by then, they need new fans, they need new feeders, you need new gates, you need new everything in there. Mm-hmm. And so now you're starting all over again. And so because they need you indentured.
Yeah.
Because then they can't, if you don't need them, they can't control you. And so it's really a very, I believe, wicked system. I mean, I believe it's criminal. It's exploitative.
Down to, every aspect of it.
Yeah. From the pigs, the people, everything. The farmers are treated like livestock. The pigs are treated like livestock. The processing plant workers are treated like livestock.
There's books about that.
The customers are treated like livestock. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is livestock to industrial food. Mm-hmm. It's the dehumanization of people for the sake of money. And we opted out of it. We just, we were making some money. It's not like we were getting rich, but we were making a living.
Yeah.
But, just at what cost? Eventually it's just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, and our whole family came to that conclusion together. And it just so happened that at the same time that was happening, we also were looking into alternative foods and stuff because of just allergies and health concerns and things like that. And we don't go to the doctor. We never did go to the doctor.
We've always kind of been like, I wouldn't call it anti-doctor.
No,
but just like,
who needs doctors?
Yeah, kind of just keep to yourself, and
exactly
it'll work itself out. I guess that kind of. I imagine a lot of people are like that.
Or would like to be.
Yeah, or would like to be. Just like, I'd rather not go through the hassle of going to the doctor and like that's
Sure.
that's a lot of work.
It's so
Like,
hard because we don't have a family doctor, and
Yeah,
we
it's
never do. And so anytime you need something, they're like, "Who's your family doctor?" We're like, need something. Like if I break my leg, I'm going to the emergency room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do you
Need
mean by
something?
need something?
What in the world would I need? If I don't have an emergency, what would I need a doctor for?
Yeah.
Like, and so
yeah.
So yeah, at the same time,
looking at food to help
Yeah.
maintain your health,
yes,
as opposed to like, okay, wait till I get sick and then go to the doctor to get something to fix getting sick.
yes,
I'll just not get sick.
exactly. That's the ideal way.
Yeah, that was kind of the reason for looking at food the way we started to.
Yes.
Back then.
And so like we're looking at eating healthier ourselves, eating real food ourselves, and cutting back on like all the ultra processed foods and stuff. And we started doing that clear back then. And it was difficult, just like it is now. And then also at the same time, you know, crop prices were low. We were grain farming, and those prices were low. And you see that right now. People are on the internet. You see a lot of farmers and stuff are finally speaking out and saying, you know what, grain prices have not gone up
because
since our grandpa was farming in the 70s. It's the same cost per bushel. It's like, what's going on? This is ridiculous. All the costs have gone through the roof. You know, you go from a $75,000 new combine to $1 million new combine, and corn is still $3.50 a bushel. Like, what is happening? Everybody's getting rich except for the farmers.
Yeah, that you look at anything else, gas prices have gone up significantly since then. I mean, the price of food on the shelf has gone up significantly. But yeah, corn, same price, sometimes lower.
Yeah.
If you look at certain dates,
So
certain dates back then,
absolutely.
I mean, you could find a date back then that it was more
Better.
than it is now.
Yeah. You couldn't contract out far enough to like judge those things.
Yeah,
Like,
how in the world does that happen? I mean,
yeah.
that's rhetorical between you and me. Like,
Sure.
we've
You kind of have a suspicion.
Yeah.
But, you know, and also then you think about the fuel prices have doubled or whatever, tripled. And so like diesel, farmers still pay for the shipping both ways. And so, you know, you're hauling all that to the elevators, to the feed mills and the ethanol plants and all that. You're trucking all that, paying for the diesel. So you're paying 3 times more for diesel than you did in the 70s, and you're getting the same check as you did in the 70s.
Yep.
That's just insane. There is something not good about that system.
Yeah.
That's exploitative. Once again, where's the money going?
Yeah.
It's being siphoned away from the rural areas. I mean, what builds skyscrapers? There's only several sources of wealth in the world. There's solar wealth, things that come from the sun. There's mineral wealth, things that come from the earth. And then there's paper wealth, things that come from transactions. Well, transactions can only come from the first two.
Yeah.
So either it was grown through solar power, or it was mined through manpower, or it was traded. And that's where, so, and where are all these things at? In a city the size of Chicago or New York City, how much solar wealth has been created? In Washington, D.C., how much solar wealth is created?
Zero.
How much mineral wealth has been created in Washington, D.C.? None.
Zero.
They're trading. They're trading power. They're trading all of the wealth that's being extracted from the rural areas. And then leaving everybody here to talk about how unsustainable your farming practices are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but we agreed with them. We said, yeah, this isn't sustainable. Why are we doing this? This doesn't make sense. Then we had a manure spill from our concentrated feeding operation. We were trying to do the right things and followed all the FDA and USDA and EPA rules and all that, and we ended up accidentally having a spill, and we poisoned a river and killed fish and got fined and had to file an insurance claim and felt terrible because we're trying to be conservationists and all this. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I just poisoned a river.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't long after that we were kind of like, you know, we don't know how long we are for this, you know. And there's people that, not by all means it's a low amount, but there are people that have multiple infractions of that. Like, oh, it's that person again, poison the river again.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, holy cow, what a strange system that is.
Yeah,
so,
and again, who's on the hook for that? Not Not Tyson.
No.
Not
No.
the people who own the pigs.
No. In fact, they'll look at you. They'll be like, hey, you better straighten up because we don't need this bad publicity. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, you need to tighten up your operation here. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to drop you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, drop us for what? Just having an accident in a system
Yeah.
that you created.
Drop us for accidentally mishandling the byproduct of what you did.
Yes.
This is your animal.
Yes.
It created this.
Yes.
And now I'm on the hook for it.
Yeah. Like putting the Chernobyl disaster in the hands of the janitor. Like, what? You better straighten up here. Like, what? It's the system you created. Like, you know, but at any rate, so we're tired of the grain. We were tired of all of it. And we're like, let's do produce. Let's do, heritage breed animals that we can maximize for flavor and those kind of things. Like pick out traits for flavor and eating experience and all those things. So that's kind of the road we went down deliberately, because one, we were just so disgruntled with the industrial farm system, and this is nothing against farmers. I feel like I'm standing up for farmers. Like, I feel like they are being taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't think they are. I mean, I think that, still the case could be made. Like, even if you feel good about it and you're like, no, I'm happy with my life and stuff, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Absolutely.
great. Like, more power to you. But I just think probably there's a lot. I mean, I've talked to people that are like us too, that are in the same boat, and they're like, man.
And it's only getting worse.
It is.
I mean, more and more of them are popping up.
Sure.
That are unhappy about it. Like,
As the meat industry keeps getting more and more consolidated, there's less and less places to go. And so once they have you on the hook with a $5 million loan, where are you going to go? Well, I do like hog farming. I love hog farming. Well, yeah, because if you don't,
you better.
Your whole life's ruined.
Yeah, you better like it.
And so it's like, it's a rough thing to have to decide to opt out of that system. It's a big decision.
Terrifying.
It is. And the consequences are also very painful. I mean, we lived through it and are still continuing to live through it.
Yeah, and honestly, if what we do goes well, which I genuinely hope it does, the publicity you get from even saying what we're saying right now, that's hard too.
Yes.
I mean,
true. Yeah.
You get pursued pretty heavily. I mean,
yes.
The people who we glean our inspiration from, and the people we read and watch, and are other thought leaders in this sphere. They are constantly like being sued and be like always trying to get shut down, like
made fun of, at the very least made fun of.
At the very least made fun of.
But that's the
by
discredited
by PhDs and executives. Sure. But yeah, I mean this never gets, I would say, easier from that standpoint.
No, it's not easy to do things from value, from a values perspective. And as soon as you say you're doing something from a value perspective, there's going to be people that are just going to make fun of you for saying you have values. Oh, look at you. You're so righteous. Oh, look at you. You're better than me, huh? You got values and I don't have any values. And so, yeah, you're this virtuous person and I'm a loser. I mean, and that we've never said that. I don't believe that. But that's what you're going to be accused of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I see it all the time. I mean, with we don't have the people, we don't have that kind of reach where that comes back at us.
No.
But like I said, the people who we watch and who I follow
constantly
on X get it all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
But anyway, us moving out of all that, out of the industrial farming. Sorry, continue. That's all I was saying. Yeah, I went off on a tangent.
And it is one of those things that it's very hard to get someone to understand something when their paycheck depends upon them not understanding it. Mm-hmm. And And that's a thing. Like, that's a big deal. Money always talks. At the end of the day, you got to feed your family. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what am I going to do? I mean, I've devoted my life to this. When it comes to farming, we had generations before me that devoted their life to it. All of my family members still farm. And I value what they do and the work they put in and the hours and all of that stuff. I mean, I admire their business sense and their stick-to-itiveness and all of those things. But as a whole system, I just feel like we're all cogs in a wheel that we don't have a lot of control over, and people are just trying to play the hand they're dealt. And there's always, in any group, of any culture, society, whatever, there's always going to be people on the fringe that are going to be calling for a different way of looking at it. And everything that is because somebody changed the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
We are farming the way we're farming right now from a course of very deliberate decisions, and none of them had anything to do with the good of the communities in which the farms are. Mm-hmm. It was the opposite.
Yeah.
And they knew it from the beginning. And that's well documented. And over time, we'll probably talk about those things. But, I just think that our goal is real food made simple. Get out of the industrial food and pharma system that just continues to crank out pseudo foods. We want to show people that it is valuable and good and flavorful and fun and all of that and simple to eat real food,
and
to return to
and
it.
affordable
It is a
and doable too.
Exactly.
That is the biggest pushback. Pour me some too while you're at
Yeah.
it. The biggest pushback that I see on this kind of thinking is, and it was cited in that Time magazine article. What was the headline? The original headline.
What if ultra processed foods aren't as bad as you think they are?
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Great article. They changed the headline because everyone got angry about it and instead made it from the perspective of one researcher,
perspective on whether ultra processed foods are good for you.
No, there was so much internet outrage that we were a part of also that they changed it pretty quick. But anyway,
within a day.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah, one day.
You want to talk about the power to change things?
Yeah. God, I lost my train of thought over that article. That thing was ridiculous. Regardless, whatever. So given that whole article doing what it did and everyone getting angry about it, that kind of solidified the position that we have and that we've had for years. There were enough people mad about ultra processed food is a term in itself that was not used much, even when we started thinking about this.
No,
I mean, that's within the last 3 years.
We were trying to come up with words.
Oh yeah,
that's why we came up with pseudo food and we were looking for words to say, what are we saying here? It's not real food. What is it? And eventually the term ultra processed food came up and mainly from, I think, a book out of Brazil or somewhere where they talk about kind of like their version of a food pyramid, mm-hmm. where they talk about the levels of ultra processing. Yeah. Of processing.
Right.
And ultra processed being the worst.
Yeah. So that term wasn't even around. And the fact that an article in Time magazine, which is one of the most, I think it's a rag, but one of the most critically acclaimed
historically.
Yeah, historically huge magazines, they got trashed so hard for using that word. Yeah. In a context of maybe it's not that bad. Yeah. That they had to change their headline. Yeah. That's how big this movement is getting now.
And how mainstream the idea is that, maybe the ultra processed food isn't good for us.
Yeah.
Wow, maybe it's not a revelation.
Mm-hmm. And the more I'm reading about it, the more I'm reading people online, just regular people talk about it. It isn't just from this is not healthy for my body perspective. It's everything that we just talked about.
Yeah. It's not healthy for anything.
No, not healthy for the economy, for local communities. It's not good for farmers, even if they think it might be. I mean,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Not good for the environment.
No.
I mean, you're poisoning rivers.
No,
like,
I've done it. I
yeah,
did it.
yeah.
I am a fish killer.
yeah.
Like, I don't feel good. I mean, it's one thing you go out and you catch a fish and you fight him and all that stuff. And it's like, working against all the forces of nature to catch your food. And then you skin it and debone it and fry it and eat it and all that. And it's like the whole, circle of life and the necessary parts of being alive.
No, that's beautiful.
That's a wonderful thing.
That is.
That's a wonderful
That's
thing.
a beautiful thing.
Suffocate fish in crap, in pig crap.
Yep.
That doesn't feel good.
No.
And then to have you've never seen so many trucks from the DNR. You would not know how many trucks the Department of Natural Resources has. I mean, I drove out there, and my whole way out, everywhere there was a bridge, there were like 3 or 4 brand new 4-wheel drive, 4-door Department of Natural Resource trucks there with the little lights on top blinking, and people in uniform walking up and down the riverbanks and in the river. And I'm like, oh my, what in the world's going on? And then we find out it's us, it coming from us. When I get to our actual farm, just to check on the pigs and walk the barns and make sure that, see how many of them died overnight, lo and behold, there's an EPA officer there and some DNR people, and they're just like, are you spreading manure by any chance? And yeah. They're like, can we look where's that starting? So I'm like, okay, yeah. And lo and behold, yeah, it's us. I mean, we did it, and it just a spill from a leak. And it ran into the source of a river, and it started out in a tile. It went through the field where we were spreading the manure, ran into a tile, through the tile, into a bigger tile, into a drainage ditch that is the source of a river. Like,
yep.
And so then, we had neighboring communities had to aerate at the water treatment plants, had to aerate the river. And I mean, just... in my mind, it was catastrophic.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's traumatizing, dude. I don't understand how these companies can, deliberately dump waste and stuff and then just pay their $500 million, $1 billion fine or whatever and move on. Like it's another day at the office. Like, I felt terrible. Our whole family was devastated. Felt terrible. So embarrassed, so ashamed, so just, yeah. What a terrible feeling that is, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
Nothing about the survival of humanity requires that kind of a system where if something goes wrong, that can happen.
Right.
It just, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble on that. I'm reliving something there and
no, I mean,
yeah, that was not a
no,
fun,
that's
that
our
was not a
that's
fun
our
time.
story, honestly. And
Yeah.
that's part of it that a lot of people probably don't know. Even the ones who know our story probably don't know it.
Yeah,
to that
just
extent.
a few of the other local farmers know because they
Right.
helped us out in our time
Of
of
course,
need,
yeah.
and that's what farmers do is they help their neighbors. And so, I shout out to them. I'm not going to name them, but yeah, I mean, we had multiple neighboring farmers and stuff that helped us in a time of very much need, and we got through it. The government got through it. I mean, it was a week. Within a week, everything was back to normal. The river was clean, and they did the count of how many thousands of little fish we killed, which we're talking little minnows and stuff, not big fish. There's not big fish in little rivers around here, but a bunch of little fish, and then they fine you 25 cents per fish. And so, they add them all up, they count them all, and then you get a bill in the mail that, payable to the Department of Agriculture or EPA or one of them.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we, that was toward the end of our time raising hogs. And that wasn't by any means the end of it. That wasn't we're getting out of this.
No.
But it was something that did help. It was yeah, is this worth it?
Yeah, and now in retrospect, it's it's a driving factor to keep doing what we do.
Yes.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that can make you, I don't know.
It's your origin story.
Yeah.
It's formative.
Yes. Yeah, whether it felt like it back then or not, that's like a revolutionary moment going forward.
Yeah.
That's something that you don't forget and something that you hold a grudge about forever. I mean,
yes. Yeah.
To the people, I mean, responsible for it, you know?
Yeah. Which, I mean, we were ultimately responsible for
Yeah,
that.
responsible
that was
for
my
the
mismanagement, of a process that I let it happen.
right.
But the fact is that most of the time accidents and oversights aren't that devastating.
Yeah.
Like they can be, but I mean, we have to be careful even now with prepared food and stuff.
Absolutely.
Like,
yes, for sure.
But yeah.
But yeah, that whole system, that whole thing, how many farmers do that? Probably a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
I mean, a lot more than anyone would ever know.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It kind of just happens and then it goes away. Like you said, within a week, it's gone. A couple local communities might be somewhat affected, but even then, you really don't even hear.
A lot of times you don't even notice. You don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's times you'll see it and you're like, the river looks dark right now.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
Yeah.
And sure enough.
Yeah. How many times does something like that happen? And it does not have to.
No. Exactly.
The system that we have right now is the only thing that allows that to happen.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because you are taking the waste equivalent to a town and basically storing it under a building or in a big pond outside of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. If you've got 4,000, 6,000, 7,500 hogs on a site, I mean, imagine a city of 7,500 people and all the waste and stuff. Well, I mean, you're just storing it all under the buildings themselves or in a pond outside the buildings, a lagoon. And so it's not a foolproof method by any stretch.
No.
But yeah, at any rate, I just think, there's just better ways to live, I think, and to make a living, that just, I have a cleaner conscience about. And I want to, I just think it's just the farming side happened to coincide with an awakening to the value of real food. And so It's like, oh, wow, we'll just transition to selling real food. And that's why we got into Trio Farms and the online store and all that stuff. So it seemed like a smooth, easy transition. But, once again, 10 years ago, we were a little ahead of our curve on that. And it was hard to find a market if you're not going to, go distribute to the big cities. And we didn't want to do that. We're from Randolph County and Darke County. And this is our home. This is our roots. And it's like, we say, don't forget your roots. And it's like, well, this is where we live. I don't want to leave here.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know that there's greener pastures somewhere else. When I was a little kid, we traveled all over the country and I never thought any pasture was green.
Yeah.
I wanted to be home, And so, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't, and the home's where you hang your hat. And we got, I mean, I my own kids that are wanderers and travelers. I mean, one of my kids is overseas right now. So it's not like and one of them lives on the East Coast. So it's not like I think that there's some kind of virtue in staying in one place. Yeah. I just mean that constant nagging for more, for bigger, better, more. I try to keep in check, and I feel like I can achieve everything I want to achieve from here. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as fast, maybe not as huge, but I think I can still achieve it. Yeah. Do you think that? Your goals? I mean, well, the internet does help that, doesn't it?
Yeah. My goal, at least right now, with having time, personally for me, with having time away from having a restaurant that's open And I had a job for a little bit, and now with the Richmond place opening, I'm done there, and the last couple weeks have just been time to think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thinking about thinking is the
yeah,
most important kind of thinking.
I've been thinking about thinking a
Okay.
lot.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's
Make
all right.
You lose your train of thought.
No, that's so true. I have been thinking a lot about all of this world of food. And it was something that was really easy to forget and ignore for a while. I wasn't consciously like ignoring it, but wasn't at the front of my mind. And now that it is, the internet is the side that I am that is where my goals are.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurants are great, and I am very excited I'll be at the Richmond one every day. I'm very excited to start that place up.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I mean, you know this about me, the whole world of ideas is what triggers my brain.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking and thinking about thinking is what I do all day.
Yeah.
So the trading of knowledge and thoughts about how the world works and how it should work, that's what really gets me going. So like the whole us doing this, like this excites me.
Yeah.
I like being able to talk to people or, whatever,
Or
loosely
about
talk
people.
to people.
Yeah.
And share ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love. So really what I'm trying to do in this new era of roots, it's the new old era.
Yes. Back to the roots.
Yeah, is really push our mission hard, our ideals hard.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the restaurant will do it in the ways that we can, and that's great. But you're only seeing people in there so much.
Yes.
But
yeah.
with
the food is kind of speaking for itself. Like
exactly.
I think that that's an interesting point, because I think that we discussed that a while back, that the especially clear back in 2014 when we're doing all the real food and all that, the cuts of meat, and we're selling the cuts of meat, we're selling tomatoes and produce out of the mobile markets. We had the mobile markets and stuff, the trailers. I mean, I think that that's not very sexy.
No.
Farmers, like that's not very rock star.
Yeah.
To
not right now. It's getting there.
It's getting there, but it wasn't then.
No, not then. No,
It wasn't.
Not then. It was not.
No. And so the people that were there were pioneers, not even early adopters. They were the pioneers. They were the voices crying in the wilderness and eating crickets and stuff like locusts. They weren't being celebrated by anybody other than people that wanted to do what they were doing, which was not very many.
Not very many people.
And so, but you know what was incredibly sexy? Food Network.
Yep.
I mean, Thomas Keller, like Danny Meyer, Bobby Flay, like restaurants are by their very nature sexy. They draw, they have a magnetism about them.
Yes.
That is just very hard to ignore. And so, I think that for us, Roots concepts, whether it would be Roots Bistro or if we ever would open another Roots Pizza and Barbecue or Roots Deli or, Roots Catering and Events, whatever the concepts are, they all serve the greater purpose of real food made simple within a specific context.
Absolutely.
And that is to gain awareness, to build awareness of, hey, real food can taste good.
Yep.
Real food doesn't have to be complex. It can be easy to source, to access. It can be easy to make. It can be easy. It's easy to feed to your kids and they'll like it. You don't have to live on Hot Pockets and Lunchables. You can have real food. And so in my mind, I think that you were mentioning that you're excited about Richmond and the food and all that and the restaurant, but it's the ideas behind it and stuff. And I think that really They go hand in hand,
They
but
do.
how I just said is kind of how they go hand in hand.
Yes.
Like
They do, for
the
sure.
restaurants are, in our minds, utilitarian, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a chef. I never intend to be a chef.
Yeah.
But yet I make all of our, like a lot of our sauce recipes and things. I mean,
Yeah,
I start with them
Yep.
and then maybe they get tweaked or we'll ask, it's a collaborative, but I'm not a chef though. Mm-hmm. I have no desire to stand in a kitchen all day.
Right.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
It does drive me crazy. You
Yeah.
guys know if we're in the middle of a rush or something, it's like, Darby, get out of the way. Like, okay. Yeah. Go write a blog post or something. Like, get out of here. Like,
Yes.
go rub noses with the front of house guests. Like, yeah. So do you think I just think that it's very utilitarian. The restaurants should have been serving all along our greater vision.
Absolutely.
And we haven't been effective at that.
We haven't been effective at it. And the thinking that I've been able to do, I hope will help us convey that better as we move forward.
How do you anticipate better achieving that goal at the bistro than what we did through like Roots Pizza
Right.
and Barbecue? In your mind, I mean, have you
no,
thought about
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, I have.
How do we not lose ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, the sources, be very deliberate about them and be vocal about them.
Yeah.
Okay, so take the blueprint of basically like a vegan restaurant. What do they do with their marketing, with their menu, with their
Starve?
well, we won't go there on this one, but they are so in your face
No, they are.
about
True.
what they are.
That is true. Oh, yeah. By design.
Yeah. Tractor is a great place that that's a good place to start. I mean, they are so much different. For anyone who doesn't know, Tractor Beverage Company, they are the only certified organic beverage company that sources to hospitality, to restaurants. All of their ingredients, like I said, are certified organic. They don't use none of the crops that they use for their flavorings are treated with synthetic pesticides.
No artificial stuff.
No artificial flavoring, no artificial coloring.
A lot of their farms are kind of regenerative too.
Yeah.
Some of their partners they show.
Yeah, and you can get on their website. They have some really cool resources on there to like check what certain flavors that they've made, the impact that they've made on the planet, like literally to the amount, like milligrams of like pesticides that weren't used to produce this can of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a great metric.
It's pretty cool, as well as like soil conserved, like soil that wasn't broken down by monoculture, and it's really cool. You should check their website out; it's awesome. But we're using them in our Richmond location.
Yes,
that's a good starting point, where immediately you walk in the door and you see that.
Yeah,
you see our drink machine that usually would have Coke or Pepsi products
or Mountain Dew.
Yeah. It has Tractor. Like,
yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah. And even signs on the wall. I mean, we have marketing materials and stuff that because we do value it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great place to start, and doing things like that moving forward.
Yeah.
Really trying to talk about our sources that we use, because again, like you brought up earlier, there are going to have to be some compromises, because that's just the world we live in.
It has. You
can't have restaurants without compromising some of your real food ideals, because a restaurant cannot exist in a real food environment
in this world. Not right now.
No,
at least anyway.
No, not right. It would take some.
That's why some of them that do that have to literally have a farm attached.
Yeah.
and a little more.
Okay.
And be exclusive, we do all of our own stuff, and then they have a very limited menu of what they can do because it's just what they've grown and things like that. Well, we are talking about real food made simple. That is real food made artistic or complex, or
those are. There's only
real food made dogmatic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's only like 2 or 3 like actual farm to table restaurants in the country
that are like 100% that. I would say that I think Dan Barber is very close to that, like Stony Barn or whatever it is, and I think it's New York. But
yeah,
he wrote The Third Plate, and
yeah,
great. I mean, it's
awesome.
Great what they're doing,
but that's
not sustainable.
Those are 12-course tasting menus.
Yeah,
that are hundreds of dollar reservations per person.
Exactly. How do you?
Because it's not sustainable.
No,
that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah,
it's for the rich people and
Alice Waters out in California, same way. Like, yeah, it's like these are destinations. There's a reason they have Michelin stars. Michelin is saying these are worth traveling for. Like
exactly. They're for vacations.
Yeah,
they're for if
you're in France and you're looking for an experience and a culinary experience, you should fly out to California to Alice Waters' restaurant or to Dan Barber's restaurant in New York. Or to Noma in wherever it is, Denmark or Norway or wherever in the world it is. Like, because they use like all, at Noma, they go out there and scrape mushrooms off rocks and stuff, and that's the dinner. Like, I mean, that's art.
Yes.
We're talking about,
which is great.
Yeah.
Art drives culture. Yeah. That's awesome.
Exactly. So I think there's a value to it. And we're sitting here using them as exemplars and saying, how can we take that and transcend it down? And the thing is the only way you can do that is to compromise.
Absolutely.
In this, just know what you're compromising, when you're compromising, how you're compromising, be vocal and transparent about it, and bring everybody along with you. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're tired of not having certified organic something on a menu, well, then you better tell more of your friends to come and do business with them so they can afford to do certified organic menus.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a team effort. Like, it's easy to stand back and say, well, this should be like that. Well, we're trying to do our best to be idealists in a real world. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, that's what we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Idealists in a real world. And that's tough. It's tricky.
Absolutely.
And so the bistro, we don't want to fall into that trap.
No.
But
I think another way is through. We did pretty good with some deliberate marketing near probably the back half of Winchester, with what we were trying to be there.
Yes,
which was the party for the family.
Sure,
we did pretty good with that, marketing wise. That. Obviously, that marketing focus needs to change.
Yes.
To more of what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Being deliberate with the marketing for the bistro and for everything that we do.
Yes.
I think that'll be a big way to not only portray the message that we're trying to portray to other people, but to not forget the message ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Or put it on the back burner again.
Exactly. And for our staff, everybody to know it. Everybody has to live it. Everybody has to know it.
Yeah.
Like everybody. All the people making the food, all the people checking people out, everything. They all have to know those values, and we're building processes in place to share that. And most of our staff got all of that through osmosis from working with us over time. They all know our values.
Yes, no, they did.
But it wasn't deliberate. It was deliberate in terms of who we are, but it wasn't deliberate in terms of training them to be that way. It was more just osmosis and mentoring, whatever. We want to be more deliberate about that. Mm-hmm. But I think that, so like all of any concept that we have is within a certain context. And so, I think that Roots Bistro is real food made simple for busy people in high traffic areas. And that's kind of what we did, isn't it? I mean, when we were approached to do it by, the people that do running the development, and by, Earlham College is excited about us being there. I've talked to some of the leaders from there, and, they're very excited about us being there and can't wait for us to get open and stuff. I think that part of what we started to think about there was, this is on 40. This is on National Road. There's 27,000. Did I say
28?
20, almost 28,000 cars go by that building a day. and it's right on basically the edge of a college campus, and it's right next to downtown, and the Richmond High School, and just lots of factories just down the road from it, and Reed Hospital isn't that far away from it. Just there's a lot of business, industry, residential areas right around there. I mean, it's a busy area. It's a high traffic area. And so we're thinking, and then the space is kind of limited. It's not like 6,500 square foot or anything like a big sit down restaurant. It's designed to very easily satisfy a fast casual concept. So we're thinking, we've never done fast casual before. What would it even look like? Well, once again, some people be like, what we should do? We should do burritos. We should do chicken tenders. We should do then you're just thinking, what can I make somebody crave?
Yeah.
How addictive can I make it using whatever freaking chemical concoction I can come up with to do it the cheapest? And, hey, let's see what we can, if we can start the next Raising Cane's,
Yep.
or the next Chipotle or whatever. It's like, that's not our goal. Our goal was, how can we make real food simple for these people? How can we introduce Tree Hill Farms, roots, real food made simple to Richmond?
Yeah.
In this context. And so I think the menu, we thought very hard about the menu. We've done a lot of work on it. And so I think we're all kind of very happy with the almost finalized
I'm very happy with the menu.
And so
I think it'll go over very well.
Good. I think so too. And so it's just, and you think about it, and it's like, no, it's just pretty much real food made simple. But it's made for people to come through, get it, get out.
Yeah.
Like,
that does make it hard it makes it harder than the Winchester place to portray a message.
Yes.
You're spending less time with people.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there have to be other ways that you can get the message across. And I think that there are companies that do it very well, I think. Just through their marketing, and
it could be something as simple as packaging.
Exactly. I mean, there's something in those stores, places like Chipotle, that you notice is different or catches your attention.
Yeah, for sure.
And people, maybe not on a large scale, but on a big enough one, will go in a little deeper and dive into what makes them different.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. Sure.
I think especially in high traffic and fast paced,
yeah,
not as many, but it still happens.
Sure.
People will get curious as like, okay, what about these guys is so different,
Yeah. Yeah.
Just from simple marketing, like just what's in your store when you walk in.
The fact that you're using Tractor Beverage right off the bat.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's something that, like, okay, what even is Tractor?
Yeah.
Because
I
didn't know what it was.
No.
Until literally we got the box delivered. For the samples.
Yeah.
That was after you had already talked to them. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think it's like, you're exactly right. It's just going to come across in a lot of little ways, but it has to be deliberate ways. And, I think the food will help speak to itself, though, right?
Because
it's not junk, and it's not drippy seed oil.
No, it's real food.
It's real food, and it has a fresh character to it, like pretty much everything we do. Even our comfort food has a fresh character to it. Like, you might feel full, but you don't feel sick. Mm-hmm. And you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I got to have another one. I got to have another one. I got to have another one. Like, there's just something naturally satisfying about real food. Even what would be considered in our culture comfort food, like mac and cheese. If you use like 4-ingredient, imported from Italy cavatappi noodles with Italian wheat, like, that's the base of your mac and cheese. And then you're putting 7 cheeses, all very clean ingredient, clean label cheeses from that caliber of cheese manufacturers. You put that into a dish, and that's why
And
you're like everybody's addicted to our mac and cheese.
Yeah, it was noticeably different. That was something that we did in Winchester. The recipe for the mac and cheese for the bistro has not changed.
No.
It is the same recipe because people love it.
And so many people have begged us to have it that we're like, we'll do it there.
Yep. And it, like you said, it's clean. It's Italian wheat.
Yeah.
It's not it's not
Roundup wheat.
Yeah, it's not the garbage that we grow
and not
here.
A lot of people make fun of that, especially around here because nobody really does that, puts Roundup on their wheat. But in the wheat belt, they definitely will desiccate the wheat if they need to get it off quicker. They'll go through and they'll spray it with Roundup, and it just finishes it off very quick. That's what Roundup does. Mm-hmm. And if you've been told as a farmer and as a culture by Monsanto for 50 years that Roundup is so natural and clean and everything else that humans could drink it only kills plants because it interrupts a plant's pathway that only a plant has, like, you feel completely justified in doing that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just dangerous
that's what
for
you
the
were
plant.
told. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, okay, you don't give beer to a baby, but you can drink beer all day. Well, okay. You don't want to, Roundup's going to kill wheat, but it ain't going to kill you. You could drink it. It won't hurt you. I mean, in fact, as a publicity stunt, there was a journalist that drank some. And to my knowledge, he's still on TV. So,
yeah.
I mean, but yeah, so I understand why it happens. But,
absolutely.
But in Europe, they can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that? Why
they're not allowed to spray Roundup.
Why are they not
Europe?
allowed to spray Roundup? Yeah. There are so many things like that about American food.
Yes.
Honestly, almost everything. Almost everything that you would find in a grocery store, there's something in it that they are not allowed to put in it in Europe.
Yes. Oh, a lot.
Almost everything.
Yeah. But then you think about it, and it's like, so now to your earlier point about compromising and
sure,
and being transparent about it. Okay, so for instance, now this is so interesting because at Roots Bistro, just like in Roots Catering, and we had it at Pizza and Barbecue, all that, like mac and cheese is something we're very well known for. We import the noodles from Italy, and then we turn around and walk around with shirts that say "Eat Local."
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, we have to compromise. Mm-hmm. And if people want to know, they can ask, and we'll tell them. I mean, and since nobody's really asked that, I'm using it as an example, but I'm saying it right here for the world to forever know. Like, we have to have that conversation and think about those issues. Like, okay, which one trumps the other now? Which value or priority trumps the other? Well, for now, in an imperfect world, I would rather import the wheat because you know what? One thing that has gone on for centuries and centuries and centuries, thousands of years, is the trade of goods, even the international trade of goods. Mm-hmm. Marco Polo was trading spices. Yeah. All of the conquistadors or whatever were actually on financially driven missions. Like, there's been international trade forever. So I'm not a total isolationist. I understand what trade is. I think that food security is safest when it's local, but not if you're eating poison.
Yeah, for sure.
If I have to choose between international food and local pseudo food, I'm choosing the real food.
Yeah, choosing the real food.
And once you added all that chemical to it, it's not food anymore.
No,
it was food.
The reason that local food is a value to us is because that is one of the ways that you can almost guarantee that the food you're getting is safe.
Good for you.
Because the non-local food, yes. You have in Randolph County, where we are, there are a lot of farmers. What was the statistic, or what's the number? 236 million acres in the country right now that is designated just to corn and soybeans.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And we have a lot of that in our area.
Corn and soybean.
Yeah,
farms.
just in the Midwest, it's almost all here.
Sure.
All those acres.
Oh, you drive anywhere from here to Greenville, here to Winchester, and you're going to pass, okay, this year it's a cornfield, last year it was a bean field, and the one across the street is vice versa. Like, that's all you're getting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what a lot of, seriously, I don't think most people know this, my age anyway, my age and younger. You can't eat that corn.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't eat those soy. They're
Number
not,
2, corn is not sweet corn.
they're not growing food.
No.
What they are growing is a chemical that they can put into other things that make them taste like food.
That's it.
So local
Or fuel your car.
Yeah, or I mean, most of it goes to fuel your car. That's what most of it goes to. But like your flavorings and your spices and all the things that they inject into your chips, like your Doritos and stuff, that's all corn and soybeans. And so when we say local food, that isn't that.
Exactly.
The local food is not the corn that someone is growing outside of town. You can't eat that corn. That's not food. The local food is whatever, the potatoes that someone is actually growing and you can go to a farmer's market and buy.
Tomatoes, yeah, peppers, whatever.
Yeah, any of that
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
Yeah, all
Yes.
the produce that you can buy. And maybe
Yeah.
there's corn in there, but that's the corn you can eat. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's local food.
Yeah. If you I mean, if I gave you a plate of, macaroni salad and it was moldy, is that food? Or is it poison? Was it ever food? Yeah. Is it now? No. What would make it food if it didn't have the mold on it? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying half of the American, quote, food system is.
Yeah.
It's not food. Mm-hmm. Could it be food? Well, not in its current form, a lot of it. Was it possible to be? Yeah. Did it start out as? Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. Did milk start out as milk? Yeah. What is it now? Sugar water.
Yeah.
It is literal sugar water. How does Fairlife, which is a, milk flavored drink, whatever, say that it's got half the sugar of real milk? What? Like, you got a manufactured milk owned by Coca-Cola Company that on the label says that I think it's like 50% of the sugar of real milk. Like,
Yeah.
well, that's because even real milk now isn't necessarily real milk.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen that video of like this is in milk and she brings like a wheelbarrow full of sugar out and dumps it on the stage or whatever?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my Lord, like this is what's in whatever. I mean, I just think that we just played way too fast and loose with the word food.
Yeah.
And so now it's like when you say real food, people are like, well, yeah, well, Doritos are real food. What, that don't even have a meaning. And it's like, oh, yeah, it absolutely has a meaning. What I am saying absolutely has a meaning.
Yeah.
Real food. Like, does your great grandma know what it was? Would she recognize it? Would she eat it? Like,
Yeah.
And so I'm saying if you don't think that food that has had rat poison put on top of it, would you feed your kid that? Would you pour rat poison in the kid's baby formula or in the kid's little baby food jar? You got the pureed carrots. That's always the favorite, So you got the pureed carrots, and here I'm going to feed little Johnny his favorite pureed carrots. Would you think that you're a good parent if you took a bunch of rat poison and sprinkled it on top and stirred it in? Like, no, it used to be food. It has potential to be food. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. You ruined it. Mm-hmm. Now it's not fit to be eaten. Now it will bring more harm than good. Yep. Well, okay. What's in the pureed carrots? How much? Sugar. How much? Chemicals that they sprayed on the carrots when they were growing them. How much went on at the factory where they pureed them and all of that? Like, is it still food? And I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying, how can anyone say if it is or not? Mm-hmm. Like, right. I didn't go out to the garden, pick the carrots, can the carrots, and then smash them up for little Johnny like they used to, like my great grandma would have. Right. Instead, I'm trusting a multinational corporation that's probably owned by a bigger multinational corporation that's owned by one of the 10 that owns the entire food system. I'm trusting them. And they used to be owned by tobacco companies. So, like, that's who I'm trusting with the health of my child. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going by what they're telling me. And it's been proven that they changed words on labels to make them confusing. And if something's banned, they'll change the name.
Yeah.
And I mean, so they've not been proven trustworthy.
Yeah.
And yet this is what we're feeding. So this is what I mean when I say like local versus real.
Yes.
Like I'm choosing real for now until we can get local.
Yeah, yeah.
Local,
that's
real.
what I'm saying. Like, yes,
Like-
local is a very specific. It has connotations to it that are not expressed in the word itself. Local. When you say eat local, people know what that means for the most part.
Yeah, it's a loaded term.
Yeah. Oh, it is for sure.
Yeah,
Because when we were farming, we were not making local food.
no.
I mean, we were local farmers.
Yes, yeah,
We
local,
were.
Yeah, if you live near me, I'm local.
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes away from you, but I'm not making local food. See, so the word local,
Exactly.
people know what it means. It has connotations to it that people realize.
Yes,
But like you're saying, there are certain things that local just doesn't make sense for.
exactly.
Like our cavatappi that we use for our mac and cheese.
Yes.
There is no good local.
No.
There isn't even bad local
No.
noodles. Like
There's just nothing
you gotta
like
get.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
where do you-
especially at scale that you
Oh,
could,
yeah,
I
and-
mean,
yeah.
literally, we would. I mean, there's so many times, like if we did that and we use, like, for instance, a little local baker or something, like we would run them out of business.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
they could not keep
There's
up.
no way they could.
And so it just, you have to do what you have to do and make those compromises, which I think is like what you had mentioned. We just have to be transparent about those. And,
Absolutely.
And
because the restaurant is facilitating our beliefs, being transparent about it is the only good way to do it.
yes, agree.
Because we have talked about this kind of thing before, where there are decisions that we've made where we would like to elaborate pretty deeply on what caused us to make the decision, but we decided it was best to just not do that.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it would compromise the vibe of Roots at the time.
Yeah.
The party. Like, we don't want to bog people down with this stuff. We want them to come and have a good time.
Exactly.
In my opinion, the days of that are gone.
Agree 100%.
So, like,
Yeah, that's not an opinion. That's
okay.
Just that's Bible there. Yeah,
Yeah. So, like, it's
sure.
when it comes to things like the noodles, where we would run somebody out of business, we be very upfront about that, and then give people don't take people's intelligence for granted, like, and underestimate it, I think.
Yeah,
And if we do and we overshoot on somebody, so be it.
Sure.
That's fine, because the mission is a little more important than that.
yeah,
Explain to people, like, okay, here's why we can't do this. Here's what would have to happen for us to be
Exactly.
able to do this.
exactly.
Here's how much ground we have right now that goes to corn and soybeans that does nothing. How much of that ground could we plant actual wheat on?
Sure.
How much of this ground? I saw
Yeah.
a video today on X of, like, a farmer. I don't know who she was. It just popped up on my feed, but she had a pasture of cows. And that's when I looked up the statistic of, like, how much ground do we have right now
Sure.
that isn't being used for that? How
Yeah.
many cows, how much cattle could we grow on pasture? Not in a factory.
Yes. Not in feedlots.
Yeah. How many animals, how much meat could we produce? How much produce could we produce on 236 million freaking acres
I can tell.
that isn't going to food?
I can tell you how many. I mean, I can tell you it's millions, millions, and millions and millions, because buffalo used to roam.
Yeah.
Like, people act like, oh, we can't sustain all the cattle and everything. No, we can't sustain the way that dumb people have come up with raising them.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb people that really, in my opinion, and we're going to do a podcast episode on this pretty soon, that I honestly believe that all of it comes down to the fact that humans hate being human. They hate it that they have to be human. I hate it that in order for me to live, an animal has to die. I hate it that that I am attached to animals at all. I hate it that I'm attached to the ground, to the land. I hate it that I am part of nature. I hate it that I am created. I hate it that
I see where this is going now. This
right?
is that'll be fun.
Because I just think that when you get down
that's
to
a cool concept.
Well, but it's true though too, because that's even why people wish that they were computers. That's interesting. They long for technology. They long for cleanliness. They long for sterility. They long to be a computer. Because they hate their organic nature. They hate the organicness of themselves. It disgusts them.
That's interesting.
And so they don't like it that there's primal. And what they've called that now is toxic masculinity, which is basically humanity devoid of modern technology.
Interesting.
Because you know what? Back in the old days when you had to fight the other predators in the world to kill your buffalo and also then fend off other marauding people that want to kill your family and yourself and take the food from you, like toxic masculine people would be pretty appealing. Mm-hmm. Like, give me that toxic masculine guy over there. Will you be my warlord?
Yeah.
Like,
for real.
What? Do you need somebody to just till the garden for a while or something? And in the meantime, hey, protect my hut. Like, that's how civilization started. And once it started, everybody's like, we really shouldn't even have to do any of this at all. We really shouldn't even have to farm. That we shouldn't have to be so connected to nature. Nature, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around these chickens. I don't want to be around these plants. I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to be around these stinky cows or buffalo or any of that. Like,
so what do? You
put them plant grass.
Yeah. You put yourself in a city and then you put them
exactly
in flyover country.
Yep, that's it.
You never have to be on the ground there. You never have to be around it. It's just
So you've got, and what they call it nowadays, like concrete jungles. Like, I just think that that's what's happened in the world is that, and I mean, I've done it across so many aspects of life, and it's like, man, yes, at the end of it all, I think there's just a large group of people that hate being people.
That's really cool.
Like, and so I think that
is such a fun thought.
Yeah. And I just think in order to, you have to take those kind of thoughts into consideration when you're planning how you're going to live, because there's certain dogmatisms that you're never going to be able to satisfy.
Absolutely.
I think in any level.
In any practice.
No. Exactly.
I mean, there are people who are religious about the stuff we're talking about.
On both sides. There are
that's what I mean.
There are religious carnivores, very dogmatic carnivores, and there are very dogmatic vegans.
Yep.
Well, how can you? Good Lord, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, and both of them would judge me for not being either of them 100%.
Yeah,
like,
that's
We're talking about real food made simple.
Yeah, that is very deliberately not us.
Yes, we are real food made simple, not real food made religious.
Do the best you can with what you have.
Yeah.
Until we can hopefully fix things.
Exactly.
And then hopefully all you'll have is the right stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal.
Exactly. So, yeah, I feel like we got a lot of good, fun things ahead of us, and I think that the bistro is going to be a good one. I'm very excited about what we can offer through it. And I'm very excited about some of the other concepts and ideas that we have brewing too.
Yeah, actually I do. I just had this thought while we were in the middle of talking. We didn't plan this. I do want to talk about what we have coming up with, first of all, we have an X account now, X Twitter.
Oh yeah.
I will link that. This will go up on YouTube. Yeah, I'll link that wherever this goes up. And then I'll have to check if I can post this there. I think I can. I don't remember their video policies. Whatever. But yeah, if you resonate with the kind of things that we talk about in this, or even if you don't really yet and you don't know and you want to know more about it, follow us on X. Our account is the Opt Out Enclave.
Yes.
Opt Out Enclave. That is a new concept that we've been tossing around recently. Mm-hmm. Basically a group of people who are everything that we just talked about. we have to live in reality. We are in a system that existed for most of us before we were alive,
Yes.
before we were born. Especially, I mean, me for sure.
Sure.
I mean, the system that we live in now for food and pharmaceuticals and all that stuff, economy, everything, that existed at least 50 years before I was born.
Yeah.
So, if you're in that group of people and you want to learn more about what we talk about, go on a deeper level of thinking. And also, my goal for this is to try to plug as many or curate, I guess, as many people that think like us with bigger audiences and bigger credentials.
Yeah.
There are plenty of doctors, PhDs, I mean,
Farmers, like all sorts of
lawyers,
people. Yeah.
like lots of very smart people
Yeah.
with credentials to show it, who we get a lot of our inspiration and our thoughts from.
Sure.
And our account on X will be kind of a place for us to share our thoughts in relation to those people's thoughts directly, rather than in the podcast form. You know, this is a conglomeration of everything that we think.
Yeah.
We can't directly cite a whole lot of stuff here.
Sure.
You know, but if Casey Means says something really cool on X,
Yeah.
we'll have something to say about it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if this is something you're interested in, help you to also get connected to those really smart people, so you don't really feel like you're in a bubble or like just by yourself, you know?
Yeah. Am I
there are tons of
alone
people.
in questioning what I'm eating, how I'm living, how we're all living, the way we live now? Like, am I alone in thinking this way, or, you know, or in just starting to see the facade crack a little and wondering, is there something else? What am I missing? Like,
Yeah.
like
No, there
that's
are
kinda
tons
where we live
of people.
in that we haven't arrived anywhere. We're just journeying along it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
There are tons of people now who are not just like idealistic about it like we are, but have done research and have seen firsthand a lot of the things that we talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the world they live in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's their entire lives.
Sure. Yeah. So like they wouldn't have the understanding of firsthand what it means to run a concentrated factory farm, but they understand what ultra processed food does when it hits the body,
Yeah.
when it hits the bloodstream,
Yep.
when it hits the brain. Like, so I think the more we can do to bring all of those worlds together.
Yeah. That's when we hit something special for sure.
Exactly. And that's when things can, I think, change for the better.
So yeah, so the goal here for this account for X is to hopefully help bring that kind of thing together.
Yeah. And
Because-
we have it on Facebook too. Same thing.